dust here and a broken twig there. Ariq didn't need to see each print to recognize where the trail was leading, though. South around the head of the bay, then veering back toward the ocean. His brother had gone to the cliffs. The rocky rise to the sheer edge lay ahead of them, the red earth studded with flat boulders and scrub. A straight course would have sent Taka to the beach far below. Ariq steered the walker onto the same path. High overhead, the sun glared down accusingly. He shouldn't have waited so long, but Takamasa had gone on these treks before. Ming had accompanied him into the unforgiving landscape the first times, but in the past years Taka had ventured off alone. He'd always returned within a few days or weeks, thin and dirty, but alive. Ariq had known this time was different, though. So different that he intended to use the faint excuse of a beached squid to bring his brother home. Now Ariq couldn't bear to drive up the rise or to look over the cliff and see what might lay on the shore below. He couldn't bear it, though he'd faced warriors from the Golden Empire with a steady hand. With a calm heart, he'd stolen into the bowels of a Nipponese prison. He'd been outnumbered and outgunned more often than he liked to remember, yet he couldn't recall one danger that had filled his body with such dread as weighed on it now.
"Why do you slow?"
Ming glanced away from the ground.
"The trail is clear."
And the tracker assumed that Taka had simply walked along the cliffs rather than thrown himself over them. Ming didn't know of Ariq's fears for his brother. Even Taka didn't know of them. Ariq had never spoken them aloud. A word of worry might be taken as a question of Taka's courage and shatter his brother's tortured spirit. So Ariq had held his tongue. But the news of his beloved might have broken Taka anyway. He stopped the engine.
"We'll walk."
Frowning, Ming studied the rise ahead. Their walker could have navigated through the boulders and brush. The machine had been designed to crawl over the treacherous mountains within the Golden Empire, and with a few modifications, the walker had proved just as suited to this flat, dry land. Ariq was suited to this place too. If he hadn't been, he'd have also made the necessary modifications. Taka had tried to adjust to their new life. 5 years had passed since the Nipponese had discovered their mother was a spy, and Taka had been imprisoned on suspicion of treason. 5 years since Taka had lost everything except a half-brother he hadn't met until Ariq had freed him from his chains. But some days it seemed as if Taka had never escaped, as if he opened his eyes yet there was still only darkness and pain. Ariq had fought in the rebellion against the Golden Empire from almost his first step, yet he'd never seen a battle as continuous as Taka had waged. That battle might have been lost today. He followed Ming up the rise. The ochre rubbed into the tracker's black ropes of hair was almost the same shade as the dirt beneath his toughened bare feet. The earth was softer here, and Ming walked alongside the faintest impression of Taka's boots. Then Ariq's boots trampled over them, his footprints so much bigger than his brother's. Though his step was almost as quiet as Ming's, each one seemed to thud against the ground, heavier and heavier. Approaching the cliff's edge, his head seemed weighed down too. He couldn't lift it. He didn't want to look over it.
"Get down, you fools!"
Ariq immediately dropped, his hand flying to his pistol before he recognized his brother's voice behind that urgent warning. Crouching, he spotted Taka sprawled on a stone shelf overlooking the cliff, his body partially hidden by brush. Ming glanced back at Ariq. Exasperation tightened the tracker's cheeks before he slowly sank to his heels. Taka gestured them closer. Ariq crept to the edge, flattening himself beside his brother. A single inhalation later, he began breathing through his mouth. Taka had been walking for 3 days, 2 of them humid and hot, and he obviously hadn't stopped to bathe in the ocean. But the ripe odor was sweet, the fragrance of life, not the stench of death. So what would they